I say to you, you've left Islam. I say to you, if you die in that bogus jihad, I will not pray over your body. And I'll never stand at your grave. You're traitors. But you were brainwashed. And now you realize that you were brainwashed and you don't know how to get out of your predicament. The answer is that you must make tawbah. Yes, tawbah. And separate yourself from that evil world. That world which is causing that Rohingya massacre. And they're sending the money to support the massacre. They're the paymasters. The same people who gave you the weapons to go to Syria are the same people who are paying for the Rohingya massacres to continue. Same people. The same people who are giving you the US dollars to go and wage your bogus jihad are the same people who are paying for the Rohingya massacre to continue all the time. Same people doing it. So you are the ones we have to condemn. Not Gog and Magog, because we know about Gog and Magog in the Quran. You who have joined with them and left the Ummah of Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. And now you're embarrassed because you went to Syria and you killed so many people and you come back to the Western world. And you want to condemn me because I expose you for what you have done. You're bogus jihad. You're not going to be part of our Ummah until you make tawbah for what you have done and seek Allah's forgiveness for what you have done. And stop this bogus jihad in Syria. If Russia had not intervened, Syria would have become another Libya. And you would have celebrated if Syria had become another Libya, because you are in the camp of Gog and Magog. That's it. We pray that Allah may protect us from you.
Do you have any advice for Bangladesh government? Because they're already done a lot for Rohingya.
I cannot comment on the Bangladeshi government and its policies on that subject because I don't have enough knowledge.
Okay.
I think we've had a long time.
Just 3 more questions left. I'm going to be really quick. In Hadith Jibril, when Prophet ﷺ was asked about the signs of the last hour, and he said, one of them, he said, the slave woman will give birth to her master or mistress. You mentioned in a lecture that this is to do with riba and commercial surrogacy, which is women are being hired to give birth to someone else's child. My question is this actually a sign of married gay couples wanting babies? Because it seems like more and more women are being hired by gay couples to give birth to their children.
That could be one of the ways in which surrogate parenting took place, yes. Mm-hmm.
How do we survive the coming wars? Can remote villages in the countryside guarantee the safety of Muslims from the upcoming destructions of the nuclear clash between Gog and Magog?
The first thing is that the Muslim who is a Muslim is not afraid to die. If you have the fear of death in your heart and you're searching for some corner of Allah's earth where you can survive and not die, then something is wrong with your heart. A Muslim is not afraid to die, number one. Number two, a Muslim has the faith in his heart that no one can take his life. None. If Allah has not ordained death, no one can take his life. And if Allah has ordained that he should die, nothing he can do will keep him alive. So a Muslim submits to Allah. If Allah has ordained life for me, I will live. And if Allah has ordained that I should die, I will die. When the big war takes place, if you have your heart in the right place, and you have faith in Allah, and you're not afraid to die, if you die in the great war, then you will be raised as shaheed. That's the good news for you. It's good news for you. And there is in Surah Ar-Rahman, if you go to Surah Ar-Rahman and you see the verses connected with the great war, the Malhama, you will see where Allah speaks of those who will be raised and their faces will be with nur. And there'll be others who will be raised after the Malhama, the Great War, and their faces will not be like that. That's the first response I have to say concerning the Great War. The second one is you have a duty to get out of the cities of the modern world before that war takes place. Make provisions to go to the remote countryside, because a Muslim has a duty to protect himself and his family from the fire. Ku anfusakum wa ahlikum nara. If Allah is going to destroy a country because this country has a man marrying another man and getting a marriage certificate, you should not be in that country. You should leave. If you cannot leave such a country, you should at least leave the cities and go to the remote countryside. But I have said this probably 500,000 times already. I have said it probably 500,000 times already. And when you go to the remote countryside, go and live in small communities. You don't have to be Muslim, you can have Christians, you could have Hindus, you could have Jews, but you must live as a community together in mutual respect and helping each other. In the cities they will kill each other for food and water after the Great War. But in the remote countryside they'll share with each other whatever little food and water they have. And you must try to plant some food so you'll be able to survive.
My last question. It is suggested by the UK government that from 2019 children going to primary schools will be taught about relationships, including LGBT relations, which is gay, lesbian, bisexual, these relations. Members of the Jewish, Christian and Muslim faith are opposing this. What is your advice for the Muslims living in the UK?
You cannot prevent it. No, because this is not happening by accident. No, this is by divine design. Allah is testing you. Allah is testing you. You have come to this part of the world which is rich, and you've left that part of the world which is miserably poor. The Prophet said that people will follow Dajjal because of his mountain of bread. He said so, that people will follow Dajjal for his bread because he has a mountain of bread. He said so. So, if you choose to remain with the bread and the affluent life and the comfortable life, then you will not be able to keep your children. No, you will lose your children. That's the price you will pay. If you take your children out of the school, because in the school they're being taught that a man can marry another, and incidentally I don't use this LBGT terminology. You'll never hear me for that. I will never use such terminology. It is homosexuality and it is condemned in the Quran. Don't hide it with cosmetic words like gay. No. It is condemned in the Quran, and I will not tolerate a cosmetic covering of terminology which should be condemned. Homosexuality it is, and the school will teach your children that a man can marry another man. That's acceptable behavior. That's their morality. So you take your child out of the school and you want to do homeschooling. But guess what? They don't have to send inspectors now knocking at doors to get information. No. Cryptocurrencies is coming to fulfill a certain function. The function of cryptocurrencies is to bring down the monetary system that now exists, so that an entirely electronic monetary system will replace it. That's the function of cryptocurrencies. When that electronic monetary system takes over completely, I was traveling from Geneva to London with British Airways. When I wanted to buy a bottle of water, they told me I can't pay for it cash. That's what it is. A bottle of water, you have to pay for it electronically. That's British Airways. So it's coming now, the rope is tightening around our necks, and yet they ban Imran Hosein from coming to the masjid to lecture. Shame on you. So when the electronic monetary system takes over completely, They don't need to send people to knock on the doors of your house. They know your profile. You can't even buy a loaf of bread without an electronic trail. So when they see that you've taken your children out of school and you're homeschooling, in order to protect your children from that homosexuality and so on, then they'll find an excuse to come and seize your children from you and take your children away from you and give your children to couples who will maintain your children and be caregivers for your children to ensure that your children go to such a school and be taught that a man can marry another man and get a marriage certificate. At that time when that happened, please do me a favor. Don't send me an email. Don't send me an email to ask me, Sheikh, what can I do? They took my children. That's coming, yeah.
So this was my last question. I would like to thank you, Sheikh, and your students in Bangladesh, Pakistan, India, they all asked me to tell you the salam, and they want you to pray for them so that they can learn eschatology, and they want guidance. So they're seeking guidance in the Quran and the Hadith, and they just don't want to be betrayed as the ancestors. I mean, the grandfathers and fathers. Some of them have followed such sheikhs that no one ever explained eschatology the way you've explained. So
tell them I thank them for their du'as for me, that Allah might protect me, that I may be able to travel safely and that I may not be harmed by my enemies, and that Allah may be able to provide for me, that I can be able to continue doing the work that I do. And if they make that dua for me, then my response is, do no bad. Do no bad? Do no bad, yes, thank you. Okay.